And surplus is what the commonly accepted term for profit is. So, you will sometimes hear people refer to the concept of profit, but when you hear in the co-op sector that people are talking about surplus, generally they mean profit. And this is whatever is left at the end of the year that the cooperative has made. Anything, you've paid your expenses, you've paid everything you need to pay, anything that's left over is considered your surplus, your net profit. You're in Ontario, you have to use that surplus in a particular way, and you have to use it in a particular order. If you have nonprofit tax status from Revenue Canada, all of that trumps everything that's in the Ontario legislation, and the Revenue Canada rules say you can't use that surplus unless it's to further the purpose of the cooperative. You can't distribute it to members, you can't do any of that sort of thing. But co-ops that don't have nonprofit tax status have to use their surplus in a particular order. So they would put aside any reserves that they need for the cooperative. And so again, this depends on the type of business that the cooperative is in. Different types of businesses need different types of reserves. And so this is a decision of the board, usually in conjunction with the management. What does the cooperative need to keep as a reserve in case something goes wrong? Sort of what's your emergency fund or your contingency fund? Any payment of interest on member loans or bonds or anything, dividends on shares that are held by preference shares, that needs to be paid next. Then the next thing that needs to be paid is any maintenance or improvement to member services. And again, that's a fairly broad term. And so the member services are going to be different in every cooperative, and what needs to be done to maintain and improve them would be the decision of the board, with input from management and input from the membership. Any donations that a cooperative is going to make to community welfare need to come out next. And then the last thing that gets determined is what's called a patronage payment. And a patronage payment is a payment to members, and it's only to members. It's not a payment just if you own preference shares but you're not a member, you don't get a share of the patronage. Patronage is reserved for members only. And as you'll see on the next slide, can you go to the patronage is usually paid in proportion to the business that a member does with a co-op. So for example, for anybody that's a member of Mountain Equipment Co-op, you may have received a rebate or a credit check from Mountain Equipment Co-op in the past. Usually, if you've just bought a headlamp or something and it was only $5 and that's the only thing you paid all year, you might not get that. But if you paid, if you went and bought a couple of canoes or something and you really contributed to the success of the business, you'll get a larger share of the surplus. And so a patronage payment is a way to again, it's meant to be fair and equitable in that everybody has one member, one vote in the cooperative, but if you have financially contributed more to the success of the business by either investing more money or doing more business with the cooperative, you as a reward or as considered what's fair, you get a bigger share of the surplus. Again, this is meant to be a fair and equitable way to divide the success of the business among those that help to make it happen. And it's the board's responsibility to decide whether or not they're going to make a patronage payment in a year. And those patronage payouts can't happen again. If making a patronage payment would go bankrupt, that would be not allowed. And a co-op can make a payment in cash. They can say, okay, well, we have this many dollars left at the end of the year. We're going to pay that out in cash to our members. And there's usually a formula in the bylaws that says this is how we determine what each member gets. And in some cases, they will issue that payment in more shares. The reason that they might do that is it allows the cooperative to generate more investment in the business, and which the cooperative can then use to use those dollars for anything else.